may I suggest this book? It's much better than the Zack Snyder movie.
You might, but you're giving away your hand, David Fowley.
Oh, sorry. Well, my hand? It's right here.
Oh, well, no, you're moving way too fast for this conversation. All right, we're talking about, it's not the Snyder Cut. It's called Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
The movie that fans have been clamoring for years, ever since there was a rumor that the version that Joss Whedon put out was completely or mostly redone from what Zack Snyder had done before he had to step away due to a family tragedy. And, you know, Warner Brothers, HBO Max, they gave him a train load of money to go back and complete his vision and release it as a 4-hour and 2-minute cut, which is available now on HBO Max. We're here to talk about it, to find out, was it worth the hype? Are you glad you didn't have to see it in theaters for the pee breaks alone? What do the fans, let's talk about some of the fan culture hype around this thing. And, you know, even, hey, what did we think of the movie? Now, we'll keep it relatively spoiler free for the first few minutes, and then we'll just talk about absolutely everything. So you'll have a warning. But joining me tonight are David Fowley of Keeping It Real and Mike Crowley of You'll Probably Agree. Let me say that again. You'll probably agree, not you'll probably agree. Because if people look up, you'll probably agree, they might find something else. I don't know.
I better change the word of my show.
Well, and then possibly later we'll have a special guest, Don Shanahan.
He's getting at his green makeup.
Oh, is he going to be the Martian Manhunter? Oh, spoiler.
Spoiler?
Nah. I don't know. But okay, so let's talk about Justice League. I keep wanting to call it Dawn of Justice. That was the movie that came before this. Are we all in agreement that the Joss Whedon Justice League was not very good?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think there's any question about that.
I just learned before hopping on that they called it Justice League. Not
Justice League.
Justice League. Like derivatively referring to it as Justice League. Those are the Snyder fans, I guess. It is interesting because if you're a fan of DC Comics or comic books, I mean, you always wanted to see an Avengers movie on the big screen. You know, you always wanted to see a good Justice League movie, you know, on the big screen, you know, something really well done, something just, you know, entertaining and you know, plenty of wow factors. Wow. What Warner Brothers did was a debacle. Yeah. And I understand the reasons why Snyder and his wife bowed out. Obviously, it's huge. What happened to them was a devastating loss, is that their daughter Autumn committed suicide. And so, you know, a lot had to change, you know. I guess a lot was filmed, apparently.
A lot, yeah.
But Joss Whedon came in. I mean, is he going to say no? You know, I mean, he Warner Brothers thought that they would have a surefire thing with him after 2 successful Avengers movies, regardless of what you think of Age of Ultron. They still, you know, okay, financially successful, okay. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't make a good Justice League movie, and you know, they wanted to make sure that they would get somebody who could prune it down rather, to 2 hours. And I think, after seeing this 4-hour version, 4 hours is long for any movie. After seeing this, I wish they would have waited and just, you know, held out.
Held out for what?
Well, I mean, not released to this the Joss Whedon 2017, because Joss Whedon, apparently, I was writing this down, apparently he added 80 pages to the script. What? That's like, and what's crazy too is, in this Snyder Cut, there is, like, what I read is that none of the Whedon stuff is kept for this Snyder Cut.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's
and
not right.
it doesn't sound right. Sure, I get it, but that's what they're saying. So basically, if that's true, then I mean they still slapped Zack Snyder's name on the original 2017 theatrical release, saying he directed it. Joss Whedon's name is nowhere on there.
Oh, is that right? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I remember seeing that in the theater, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And so I find that hard to believe too, because I mean, look, the story hasn't changed that much. It's just stretched out every which way, and so it's hard for me to believe that none of Whedon's footage at all. So that means, if that's true, if what they're saying is true, that means that there was a lot that Snyder had shot that Whedon was using.
Right, because I mean that's the thing is there is so much of the original Justice League in this movie, and
Yeah.
that's one of my big disappointments with it. I kept hearing about the Snyder Cut and how different it was, and then when I sat down to watch this thing, I'm like, this is the exact same movie with a few elements that don't really enhance the overall point, and there's not really a point. And that's why I
I
got to
mean, yeah.
I got to the end of it. I'm like, this was a complete waste of time.
I don't know if it's a waste of time. I mean, I think it is a better film, but like I've been saying, that bar was low on that. I mean, come on.
I would argue, I mean, and I know that a lot of people are saying this is the better version of it. I would disagree. But that's just saying that I don't think there is a good version of this particular movie. You know,
maybe we haven't seen it yet.
well, no, I mean, that's, you mentioned Age of Ultron, and on the previous, on WandaVision, on the WandaVision recap series that we wound down a few weeks ago, it was sort of a recurring theme where I kept bringing up Avengers Age of Ultron and how I really hated it. I actually watched it again this week, 2 days before I watched Justice League.
Okay.
I still don't think Age of Ultron is good. I liked it better this time, and I realized the only reason I liked it better is because of the context that has come out in the Marvel universe since the movie. It kind of fills in, you know, it's like an Easter basket. You know, you get to see all these little things like, oh, this is where that came from. But I still don't think the movie holds together. But I think it is miles better than Justice League, and I see a lot of stuff in Justice League that feels like it was taken directly from Age of Ultron, which was directed and written by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a fan of Age of Ultron. I think the Snyder Cut is just it is better because to me it fixes some of the huge question marks and gaping holes and head scratching moments in Whedon's Justice League. Obviously, there's a lot more going on here because it's 4 hours. You know, there's just a lot more movie, and I don't know if it needed to be this long, but apparently, according to Snyder and according to WB throwing 70 million at Snyder to get this done after, you know, fan, I'm not going to say backlash, but fan petitions on the internet. Hey, you know, if this is his original version, you know, great. I'm glad it's out there for him, you know, as an artist. Great. But it still has some of the same problems as the previous movie, story wise, particularly the antagonists, plural this time, of the movie. But I did appreciate how there's much more. There's many more scenes of just interaction between these, let's say, potential teammates. You know, it's not a fully formed team until, like, say, the movie's what, 5 chapters, until the last, like, maybe couple chapters. And Whedon's movie just felt like it was just like sped up. Like all of a sudden we're supposed to believe that this is, you know, yes, they're bickering, but all of a sudden we're just supposed to believe that they're going to work together, you know, and it didn't gel for me. This one just has more scenes that they're having conversations, they're trying to figure things out, and there's just more, let's say, character arcs, especially for Cyborg, Ray Fisher's Cyborg, which I appreciated. I just felt like there was more to, obviously there's more to digest, and it doesn't change the story, but it makes the story a better one because it's more, I'm not going to say tolerable, but just, I guess, more understandable, and it makes a little bit more sense, character wise.
Okay. Well, Mike, jump in here. What did you think? What's your high level opinion of ZSJL?
The Zack Snyder Justice League. Okay, I got you. I did give it a pretty high rating, and I want to say I'm not particularly a Zack Snyder fan. I think he kind of comes off like a high school goth kid who's like making a superhero movie, except not like a Tim Burton like fun type. It's just like, oh, it's gonna be cool. Batman's gonna say the F-bomb. And
Let me butt in with a correction. Zack Snyder is not a goth kid. He is the jock who wants to date the hot goth girl, so he gets into goth culture, what he thinks he understands of it, and then tries to put this on for her.
That's true. I mean,
That's perfect, yeah.
he's from Green Bay, and he went to the art school, College of Design in Pasadena, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
Unlike
go
Joss
ahead.
Whedon, who went to the University of Spoiled Children. But I'm trying to get back to my train of thought here. So essentially what I was saying is that, okay, so he's pretending to be the goth kid to get in with the cool girl, right? He wants everyone to be like, oh, cool, he took the comic here and there. That's not my cup of tea. But as I'm watching this movie, in the beginning, I literally audibly said out loud as I grabbed my head, knowing I had, I think maybe more than 3 hours to go. Oh God, this is terrible. But I realized, you know what? There are a group of people who do like Zack Snyder, and I think for a reason. He does care about these comic book characters. He does care about these stories. I mean, he made a version of Batman I've always wanted to see, where he's older and he is just basically kind of embittered at life, and he's finally crossed that line where he shouldn't kill, but he's killed. But of course they didn't tell that story, which I'm gonna, maybe Ben Affleck would have done that in his Batman movie, I'm not sure, but I liked that interpretation of the character. I like the fact that his interpretation of Superman wasn't just another copy of Christopher Reeve,
Definitely was not.
No, he was the exact opposite. I mean, he was a mass murderer. I have problems with that, absolutely, but I respect the fact that he did that. When it comes to this new cut, just from frame one, you're in a Zack Snyder movie. I don't know if I can spoil anything or not.
Well, we'll just jump right into spoilers. It's fine. You've been warned.
Okay, well, it's just when we're not going too much into spoilers, when Superman is screaming and the shock waves from his scream go across the screen, you definitely go, oh, this is a Zack Snyder movie. A big strong guy going, "Aah!" And of course there's a phallic reference in the movie relating to sausages, and you can't have a Zack Snyder movie without phallic reference.
You talking about the hot dog moment?
Yes,
okay.
The hot dogs. Yeah. Hot dog, sausages, tomato. And I did like that they spent more time with Cyborg, and they spent more time with Aquaman. My levels of personal engagement with them varied. I didn't really care much about the Aquaman stuff, although I saw Aquaman a few days before, and I'm just kind of laughing and going, they're trying to make him cool, but he's Aquaman.
Willem Dafoe with the hair.
Yeah. Oh God. And it's like he does these elements that I like. He has a lot of cool elements. I love the nightmare with a K sequence. That, I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. They've shown it in the trailers. They kind of tie it back a little bit with that. I like all that. He has all these ideas. He just doesn't really know how to quite structure them or what to do with them. And this movie is sort of the closest representation of him being able to structure something. So in that regard, I gave it high praise. But Jesus, it annoyed me at times. He's trying to emulate what it looks like to look at an IMAX screen, which he ends up crunching the ratio to a 4:3 to sort of get whatever ratio the IMAX thing was. I thought he was doing it as a swipe, like, this is a real cut, Joss Whedon. See, it's like 4:3, like a director's cut. Screw you, bleh. But
And that was something that I was distracted by watching the film, because I haven't watched a 4:3 show in forever. So when I was looking at the bars, I thought that they were doing that thing that it's sort of the reverse on letterboxed, like Blu-rays of an IMAX movie like The Dark Knight, where it'll be letterboxed and then it'll go full screen for the IMAX portions. I thought this was like a twist on that, but no, the bars never went away. And yet it didn't also quite seem like 4:3. It seemed like there was a little bit more picture there. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just was annoyed.
I had to look it up. Yeah,
I didn't even notice, to be honest.
Well, it's because you were watching on a 4:3 TV.
That's why.
Yeah,
with rabbit
he has
ears.
those old CRTs that weigh like 1,000 pounds. So yeah, he did the whole shot. That was great. But he's doing the ratio, and then there are just some moments that go on forever for no reason. Like they're trying to signal Wonder Woman at one moment, and they fire an arrow, and it takes like 10 minutes.
They had to travel a long distance. Come on.
Well, and that's
I felt that distance. Oh my god.
Well, let's talk about that opening scene with the ripple effect of the scream. That went on for, I believe, 10 minutes of screen time as they're going to all the different places where this scream is, and the scream opens up the mother boxes, which is something that I didn't even realize until or even think about until I was reading a Facebook Messenger thread with a bunch of us.
Which was an awesome scene. I love that scene.
It's
it's so over the top, and Zack Snyder, I'm like, all right, I kind of love this.
No, here's the thing though, and this is why I have a problem with this 4-hour cut. There are things that I think would have worked if he had constraint, because I don't mind the idea of this ripple effect going across the globe and awakening, people and cultures and stuff. But when it goes on for that long, it's just like, all right, there's something happening here. I kind of get it, but let's keep this going, because this originally HBO had talked about, we're going to cut this thing up into 4 parts and release it as sort of a serialized thing. I don't know that would have worked, even though this thing does have chapter breaks, as I think David alluded to.
Yeah.
But it's also not really a movie. It's this bastard hybrid of a film and a television show. But it's almost like they're like, okay, you get to make your movie, but we also kind of want to make it so it could be formatted for television. So just go wild. And he kind of did. But I watched this with my wife, who hadn't seen the original Justice League. She vaguely remembers Batman v Superman.
I envy her.
Well, it was, I mean, I think Batman versus Superman is miles better than the Joss Whedon, than the Zack Snyder cut, I should say.
Wow.
And a lot of that has to do with brevity, because even though those are awful movies, both of them, they're at least shorter than this. It's kind of like a Band-Aid. Everyone says, rip the Band-Aid, get the pain over with instead of dragging it across your skin for those excruciating 4 seconds. This is 4 hours. But my wife and I, we were alternately yawning, complaining, not so much laughing. I remember there being a lot of laughter in the Joss Whedon version of this film, from everything from the horrible Henry Cavill CGI face replacement to there's just a bunch of ridiculous stuff. A lot of it.
Yeah, the Flash. Didn't he race? Didn't he race against Superman?
Yeah, at the very end, that's gone.
Yeah,
like there's all this ridiculous stuff.
Yeah,
there's all this ridiculous stuff in that cut. That and part of the fun of it was that it didn't make sense. You're like, why am I watching this thing with all these plot holes with this really terrible rushed CGI? Whereas here they've had the time to polish everything. It looks really slick, but it's just boring as all hell. Now I understand the whole cyborg thing, but that whole storyline felt like it was part of a CW TV show that I've seen 100 times. Yeah. Sorry, I think I just froze there for a second. And also, it just reminded me of other movies. Right. How many times has Joe Morton played a scientist who sacrifices himself in a lab by pushing a button on a detonator?
I was waiting for him to go.
I would have loved to have seen that. That would have given this movie A+ marks in my book. But again, going back to the Avengers, I mean, again, we've got sky beams all over the place. We've got the MacGuffin of, well, there's these 3 boxes and they've got to come together and they're all kind of
Tesseract.
different colors. And, you know, Tesseract, Infinity Gauntlets, that whole thing. Everyone's losing their mind because now this is the movie where Darkseid shows up. Darkseid shows up and does the exact same thing Steppenwolf did in the other movies and that Thanos did in all the Avengers movies leading up to the ones where he actually showed up, which he basically sat there and glowered and barked orders at his underlings. And at the very end, he's like, well, I guess I'm going to finally do something in a movie we are never going to see. So I got to the end of this picture. I'm like, this was honestly pointless because none of this is going to be really sequelized. These people aren't coming back. And even the pieces they're going to try and pick up, like maybe the Flash movie is happening. I don't know if it's going to happen with Ezra Miller. I kind of hope it doesn't because he was 10 times as obnoxious in this movie and like 40 times as rapey in his introduction.
The sausages.
The scene where the girl
the
goes
hot
flying
dogs.
out of the car and he
Why is that
super
rapey?
speeds, he super
He's,
speeds
like,
towards
touching
her.
face.
Dude,
Yeah.
I looked at my wife and she was cringing during that. She's like, that is not cool. Because he's like, it's the girl. He saw her in the street. He's got a crush on her, but that doesn't give him right to like, he's brushing her hair out of her face and kind of like caressing her and, you know, all that stuff. That's, you know.
But that's all in slow-mo super speed, so she'll never know.
Oh, that makes it okay.
Yeah.
It's the Rohypnol of superpowers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just Rufinol it. You know, who cares?
I'm so
yeah.
tired of the slow-mo version of speedsters. I mean, just you know, let's make it happen really fast, and then somebody's like, "Why is my hair like this?" or whatever. You know, just we don't need to think about all the if they chop down all the slow-mo moments in this movie, it would have been maybe 3 hours. I don't know, but you know, it's just
the
like,
sesame seed. That was what made me so mad. I'm like, I'm watching a
I
giant
noticed
sized
that.
sesame seed falling towards my face. I'm like,
It-
you're just messing with us,
it
Snyder.
made me want to see it in IMAX, so I could see an IMAX Sesame Seed.
I wanted to see this movie with everyone in the theater so we could all just react.
Oh, yeah.
Because this-
I would be really curious. I would almost see it in IMAX just to see where, because there's supposedly an intermission in the theatrical version, or no, in the intended theatrical release of the Snyder Cut. There was supposed to be an intermission, you know, just like, you know, Ben-Hur or something, Lawrence of Arabia, because that's you know, Snyder's ambition.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, how many people would just keep walking during the intermission and just
Come
leave?
back.
Passing their ticket money back.
See, watching this movie, it made me think, I want to see a documentary about the making of this movie. About the making of, from inception, from all the writers who bailed, all the different rewrites, all the different cuts. Now I just read that there's a black and white version. I'm like, bring it on. I want all of this, and I want this whole story told. It's just ridiculous that it is just the freaking Justice League. Can't you just make a good movie? You know, and can't you just, you know, hold off and wait until you have a good movie and release it? You know, blame Whedon, blame Snyder. This is WB's fault. This is Warner Brothers' fault. The fact that we have this, you know, I partly blame Chris Terrio because he's the co-writer of Rise of Skywalker and he was involved with this. So, you know, Chris Terrio, stop, cease and desist. Even Jeff Johns and I forget the other producer, they took their name off this cut because they're like, no.
Well, welcome Don Shanahan.
Yes.
The
Sorry to be
Superman
late.
to my Batman. Well, you know,
Well, I feel like it's part of the bit. Like he doesn't show up for like 2.5 hours, and here I am about an hour, half hour late. So, hey.
I thought you were gonna put on green makeup for Martian Manhunter.
You know, I thought about that too, because you know, but like, you know what? The shirt I'm wearing will be part of the bit for being a tardy son of a gun.
There you go.
You know,
Thanks for having me, Ian.
Yeah.
Mike, how you doing? Dave, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, how
we're
you
all
doing?
good. Now,
Do you even have like a cape
I
back
do.
there too?
I do. It Velcro's on, man.
You're
I'll
one
take
up
that
in
this year.
Ian there.
There's a
I thought
whole-
that was a tape cape.
No. It's like Velcroed on. It's a lovely shirt. Got some muscles. It's great for
Wow.
podcast.
Hell
stuff, too.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah.
You're ripped.
The only thing that's
Yeah.
missing, you
It's
should have
gonna
gotten
be
some.
a UFC fire.
Right.
It's gonna
You should
get
have
the
gotten some silly
octagon.
putty for your upper lip to pay homage to Henry
Yes.
Cavill
I know.
in the original.
You know, it's nice to see the whole man here, as if he was like doing a Playgirl cover, because we got to see all of Henry Cavill and not his silly putty lip. So yeah.
Well, okay, so we've
Wow.
given our high opinions. No, sorry, our high
Mm-hmm.
level opinions, not our high opinions of
Yeah.
of Snyder's Justice League. I am definitely the one who is most down on it. David, kind of mixed. Mike, you're more
I mean,
positive, but
yeah.
there's a lot of mixture in your positivity.
Okay.
I think you're appreciating it, Mike. I don't want to speak for you any more than I already am, but you're appreciating it from more of like an aesthetic and an achievement level, but you still acknowledge that the story is kind of weird.
It's still stupid.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a comic
Yeah.
book. It stopped the bad guy from doing the
No,
show.
no, none of that talk
Hey,
here, sir.
No.
That's Joel Schumacher talking.
I'll slide with Mike on this one, where I don't know a comic book movie. All right, there are more dumb ones than there are smart ones, and I'll say it like,
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
but that's par for the
For
course.
every
That's-
Howard the Duck, there's a
Yeah.
Blade too. Come on.
Unless
No,
you're
but-
Christopher Nolan, all they
Yeah.
are is philosophy for kids.
Even that stretch it in. Here I am being
Yeah.
every movie has a lesson. So come on.
It's modern myth. It's modern mythology.
It is modern mythology, and yeah, because it's all fantasy, because it's all escapism, it's supposed to be a little silly and dippy. So I'm at peace with that every time it always comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of tone deaf for Zack Snyder because it's supposed to be kind of silly. And then he's just like, no, these are real people. And look at that.
Right.
Superman caused 9/11 times 10. Like, yeah, we don't need to see that.
Well, I don't have a problem with that even necessarily of having a more realistic look at superheroes. The problem is he just doesn't quite know how to deal with that.
Yeah, he doesn't know
because
how to
he doesn't
balance
really
it.
get Superman. I think
I
going
still
back
think
to
he
the
screws
Man of
Superman
Steel
up, too.
thing with
Yeah.
Zod and destroying half of Metropolis, the Superman we know and love would have found a way around that. He would have let maybe a couple of city blocks get destroyed before he's like, we got to get take this somewhere else.
There's really not much about Cavill's portrayal, and I'm not going to blame Cavill. There's really not much about Cavill's portrayal that feels like he was raised by farmers in Kansas, Ma and Pa Kent.
Because as soon as we meet him 2 movies ago, he's he's doing the renegade on the road thing in Alaska crab fishing, where like that's not the guy who is from a hometown, connected to a hometown, is aw shucks enough to come from Kansas to the big city. That's your vagabond Clark Kent, which he can play a little bit, but
I don't mind the whole soul searching thing. That's fine.
sure.
Because there was a little bit, there was a bit of that in Donner's Superman.
Yeah. Oh, even I think
it's like when he turned the trucker's truck into origami, I'm like, come on, the Clark wouldn't do that. Come on.
Well,
Yeah,
but
that's just
here's
like a
the
shitty thing to do.
Like,
Oh,
you
sorry,
could be-
that's just a
the
bad
most
thing to
fundamental
do.
difference. We are
Go
not
ahead.
dealing with the original Superman,
No.
and a lot of it goes back to the way he was raised by the Kents.
That's what I'm saying.
But specifically, what Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent says to him after the school bus thing, when he's like, "What am I supposed to do? Let those kids die?" And he's like, "Yeah, maybe you should have." So we take that one moment and extrapolate that over the course of 16 or 17 years. What was he raised with? Yeah, he's going to turn out not my Superman. It would be. I would love to see Cavill in the hands of someone who cares for that character, like the people who made the original Superman film. But and that I know we're talking about several movies ago, but that ripples forward in time to Justice League. Yeah,
it does. Because to me, when I think of a worldly Superman who's still aw shucks, is Dean Cain from Lois and Clark, where like I mean, I know it's cheesy and it's television, but like that Clark had like been around the world, knew how to order Chinese food, like did all those things and still was Smallville Superman. It worked for that level and place. Now, that kind of Superman and Clark isn't cool enough for now, and you need thanks to Marvel and thanks to X-Men, 2 decades of that, anti-heroes sell, and that's why you have to darken Superman up and give him scowls and butt chins and all that, and it just doesn't. Yeah,
butt chins.
We were never going to get our Superman, David and I, our generation. Like the closest you're going to get now is Tyler on television, who's doing great.
Yeah, Tyler Hoechlin. Hoechlin. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job. Except he needs to shave when he's in a suit. I'm sorry, you have
I agree.
superpowers. You could quickly shave when he's in a suit.
Yeah, he looks
Does
too
he
much
have a
like
mustache?
Superman 3 drunk Superman.
Yeah.
It's one thing to put glasses on and say, I can't even tell he's Superman. But
Yeah.
then to have this while he's in the suit, come on, man.
Yeah.
Wait, he has like a full beard when he's in. He should have a full
No,
beard
no, it's
outside.
like-
of
Just
his
like
no,
5
it's
o'clock
like this.
shadow.
Yeah.
I was always
Pretty
thinking
much
like
like this.
Superman should just have like facial hair. That would throw people off instead of like,
Yeah.
where'd he go? You know.
Right. But no, Tyler has David's, fine Jewish genes.
Yeah.
I don't even think you're Jewish. I'm just saying. But no, Tyler's one of those guys who can like wait 3 minutes and then have a full beard. Like you've seen him if you've seen him off screen, he has a beard all the time.
I mean, it's always. I wonder if it's contractually in his
Keep my
contract.
sexy stubble.
Like,
Right,
look,
right.
it's so hard, and I get a rash, and I'm really sensitive, and I can't.
Got a Mission Impossible situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was recently announced that they're going to make another Superman movie, and they haven't announced whether Cavill is going to come back. When I heard that Brandon Routh was one and done, I was disappointed because I thought he was a great Superman. It was a terrible movie that he was in, story wise.
Yeah.
There's some good visuals there, but
Very good
and he was great. Okay,
Mhm.
if you're gonna emulate a Reeve, if you're gonna do a riff off Reeve, great. Christopher Reeve. George Reeves
Single.
was
Yep.
plural. George
Mhm.
Reeves was plural. Christopher was singular. Okay.
George Reeves didn't kill himself. Oh wait, yeah, I did. Sorry.
Wait, Ben Affleck as
It's
George
another
Reeves.
guy. Yeah.
Wait, oh, okay.
Give it time, they'll all die, David. Don't worry.
Hollywood land.
It was Krypton.
good movie.
Krypton. It was Zod.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was Diane Lane.
But I mean, so Brandon Routh is kind of the Lazenby of Superman.
That's true.
And I wish they would have given him another shot with a better script. So
Yeah.
I hope that they give Cavill another shot with a better script, but I don't know if they will.
Did you get to see? I don't know how much. Here I am dipping into TV again. Did you get to see Brandon get to play him again in the Crisis stuff on Arrowverse?
I haven't caught up with all of that, and I'm sure it's fine. And
He
great,
did a nice
but-
job.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
small
sure he did.
snippet, different drink. Nice job.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Crisis, let's get back to Justice
Yeah.
League.
Let's stop multiversing here.
Wait,
Yeah.
you mean Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
like Lee Daniels, the butler. That's what we're here for. Right?
I was thinking about how many movies have the directors apostrophe S before
I don't
their
know.
title, and we should rank them all, right?
Yeah.
David,
Tim-
it's not an S.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right.
That's a good one. Is there a Tim Burton something?
Tim Burton's
Nightmare
Nightmare
Before
Before
Christmas.
Christmas, which
Yeah.
he didn't direct.
Yeah,
That's right.
here
That's
he
Henry
is.
Selick. Yeah.
And then Jim Henson gets the Muppet tag all the time. Right?
Sure.
All right.
sure.
So Don,
Yes.
what did you think? I think I asked this question like
Sure.
15 minutes ago. What did you think of this
Right.
movie?
Well, it's Zack Snyder.
Well, my high level thoughts are I was pleasantly surprised. I'll humble brag in my review. I liken this to a silly MythBusters episode where Jamie Heineman and Adam Savage they're given the challenge of shining shit, and can you do it? Like the old idiom says. And sure enough, through like a Japanese molding technique of water and earth, you can in fact shine shit, but it still smells like shit. The miracle here is that Zach has shined shit and it doesn't stink. I was pleasantly surprised. It is still fat and leaden in many places, but where it is fat and leaden was helpful. We on one of our larger, and I admit I cannot help but watch this without going straight to comparison to the first one. I said for my consumer advocacy of criticism, or at least the part of that, I do recommend people, go through the Joss Whedon one first, and then or just remind themselves of it, and then go watch this one, because I think you'll heartily and helpfully see the improvements that are there, the capital improvements of story enhancements and character depth. What pleased me the most, and I didn't have a T-shirt for it, but the extras given to Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman in what is supposed to be their first appearances and accelerated origins, because we have the benefit of the doubt of seeing an Aquaman movie since, you know, we can kind of wink and
Right.
go, oh, I know what Jason Momoa is going for, but we didn't get to do that with Ezra Miller and Ray Fisher. And to see those two characters be blossomed and given not just extra lines and silly scenes and some background stuff, they were given some legitimate heavy lifting when it came to be hero time, and I was impressed by that.
And a good story arc, I think.
Yeah.
It really did. And you know, Joe Morton gets a lot more to do to give yourself another father layer, and of course DC's filled with fathers, so you know that gives you another thing. And of course you have Barry Allen, you've got a little father, you know, anchor there with Billy Crudup. So you know, you could tell that's, you know, you could tell Zack Snyder has daddy issues somewhere in his life, or at least Chris Terrio does. But that also is a lot of comics. A lot of that is, you know, the families and the places that you come from that forge you. And we've got that with, you know, the death of parents that start Bruce Wayne. We have the formative thing of two fathers that help out Superman. So if you're going to do that unifying theme, but still give it a wrinkle each time, it's nice to have the character depth to show that. And we got that this time. And I was really impressed also about how many scenes, given different editing, given different music, given different cuts and takes included, just play differently. That and I don't want to cut to the end and play spoilers, but that entire
We're
ending
in
battle.
spoilers. It's
Okay,
okay.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, because I came so late.
Yeah.
That entire ending battle in, you know, in Ukraine or wherever we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
it's
Sokovia.
cut. It's Sokovia. You're right. But when you excise the Whedonisms and you just get to mano a mano stuff, and you give these guys more heavy lifting and something serious to do, it just plays so much better than, you know, like you said, Sokovia too. Let's go save a few people and then go beat the guy's ass. You know, like it just, and then little scenes everywhere, just with a little extension here, a little extra spot here, an extra beat here. It just plays so much deeper. It plays so much better. It takes its time. And the
It
MVP
does.
for, yeah, I mean, 4 hours is a lot of time, but to me, the MVP that helps all of that come through is Junkie XL in that score. You know, you take out those Danny Elfman recuts and like insertions of old cues that don't even fit and bother with the currentness. You know, you like and David will appreciate this, and I think we said it even in our chat before we got here. Like getting those Wonder Woman jams back was wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Getting,
yeah.
yeah. And even having a few more somber, you know, Man of Hope, Superman stuff helps, you know. But and those familiar cues are one thing, but a stronger underscore in the places that you don't have familiarity were a big help too. You know, like a lot of those Aquaman scenes. I know we're not going to get Harry Gregson Williams to score because it came after, but like you still have just different tones and different scenes. Like even the underground Rikers Island wannabe confrontation there, a different grind of a different score when Steppenwolf is really punching and messing with people and you know, messing up Joe Morton. Like it's played so much scarier, and it's just such a more unified, mature tone. That tone is the MVP of this movie for me, and it started with Junkie XL. Throw a few Nick Cave songs in there, and it just feels different, stronger, tougher than I in my old review from 2017, it was like putting steak sauce on ice cream, because you have the meatiness of Zack Snyder and then the silly sweetness of Whedon, and it just doesn't mix. This is all steak, and I love it. I liked it a lot. I really did. I fully admit the flaws that are possible, because you're still throwing a lot of weight. You're still throwing extra story. Is all of it necessary? Can we not spend as much time at a job interview with Flash and just cut to the chase of, you know, of Iris and some of that? There's still trims here. I could do without the entire epilogue for sure. You know, because especially if it's leading to a sequel we'll never get, why even waste our time? Save that stuff for deleted scenes to the DVD someday. I don't need 16 more minutes of Jared Leto going way off course to something that will never pay off. Even Martian Manhunter, even Martian Manhunter, that's not going to pay off.
I'll take Martian Manhunter over that needless nightmare sequence.
Yeah, me too.
I'll say I actually liked that sequence. I know the sequel is probably never going to come out.
No.
But it made sense out of the nightmare sequence from Batman versus Superman, which, that movie didn't make sense either. But at least I'm like, oh, I see where this is going. This was supposed to be the second film.
But
this was,
to me, if
which
this guy,
I get it. They're not going to make it, but I'm happy that it makes sense now.
Right, but
Yes,
here's the
very
thing.
true.
But there's nothing in here that we didn't get in Batman versus Superman. It's still
Uh,
no, it's still
The
they had
Lois
the
thing.
premonition
the
of Superman.
lowest thing here, though.
But that's
We know
a
what
thing.
Lois
But
means
bake
now.
No, but here's the thing. In Batman versus Superman, Bruce had the dreams. He saw that dark
Yeah.
future. He saw Superman going bad. He saw Flash saying Lois is the key. You cut to this movie, you got Superman's bad. You've got them in the wasteland, and now people are still saying Lois is the key.
Mm.
But we haven't taken any steps forward. It's just
Yeah.
more.
She's also dead, and
Yeah.
that's
And
probably why
I
she's
mean,
the key.
So
So
it's
it's like
not the
it,
key in the way we think, and obviously it's
Right,
going to
but
be a time
again-
travel film.
But again,
Yeah.
here's the thing.
flashback.
We're not going to find out probably what any of this is leading to.
No,
So
Well,
this
Zack
is
Snyder did
just
say what
yeah.
it is.
maybe
Yeah.
in the Flash movie, maybe.
okay.
I-
Well, but even the
maybe.
Flash movie is up in the air because we don't know if Ezra Miller's going to still be canceled or not for beating up
hope-
that fan.
Oh well, I hope he's canceled because I think he's miscast here.
He's terrible. Now,
yeah, he's
here's the
awful.
thing. The
Yeah.
one thing that I thought was the one thing that I actually liked really about Whedon's
Ezra.
Justice League
Okay,
was cut from this version.
Okay.
And it's the line where they're going to save the people from that underground where the Steppenwolf is holding the people.
Uh-huh.
And it's the funny line where Flash is like, usually I just, I run away from danger or whatever. But then
Yeah.
Bruce as Batman says, because Flash is like, I'm brand new to this. I don't know how to be a hero. And
hero.
Batman's like, just start with one person.
save one person.
Yeah,
Save
just save one person. And then it's a beautiful little
Rinse
moment
and
because
repeat.
it gets
Yeah.
it gets him to calm down and focus and do the
Mhm.
best that he can, which is what they're all supposed to do. They don't.
Yeah.
They take that out of this movie.
They do.
They also
mean-
took out. Yeah, they also took out Diana disagreeing with revising.
You
Reviving.
can call
Reviving.
Reviving,
You
yeah.
could call it revising,
Mhm.
reviving Superman. That was huge to me that this wasn't part of the Snyder Cut. It was totally not in it.
Was
at all.
there in the Whedon cut? Was there the one little snippet scene of like workplace sexual tension? Was that in Whedon's or
You
just
mean
in this
between
one?
Bruce and
Bruce
Diana?
and Diana?
There's a lot more of that in Whedon's. There's a little bit there's hinted at here where they're like,
Yeah.
They're touching the mouse
touching
or
the
something,
mouse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. More
I-
in Whedon's though.
Yeah.
That's a happy
Um,
cut for me. I'm
But
fine
I
with
didn't mind that so much just because that's also been in the comics a lot where
it. Okay.
everybody always in the comics fans always wanted Superman and Batman to get not Superman and Batman, but that would have been interesting. Superman
Sure
and Wonder
would've.
Woman to be together.
Yeah.
But there's always been this kind of tension between Bruce and Diana too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well, there is I have figured out what the third movie is going to be.
Okay.
the third movie.
Or the second movie. There was going to be
Okay.
3, but if
Okay.
you go,
EVS, Justice League, and then something else.
yeah, well, so if you go to it, it's like it's the fall of Earth when Superman comes down to life, and then sending the Flash back in time. Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
dear.
They're gonna go back in time and save Lois. I think is basically what they're gonna say. But
Why do
as you were saying, there is actually a documentary coming out about the making. Of
Oh,
the
I hope
Justice
so.
League.
I
But
would like to see that of this movie.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think
I
it's
s-
just some corporate thing though right now. But I want to see like the Hearts of Darkness sort of
Yes.
documentary about what
Mm.
the heck went wrong.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I mean, the
when they
curious
were
thing
doing
too.
this.
The curious thing too is it wasn't just a fan petition to get this released.
Mhm.
Momoa, Syrian
Actors.
Hines,
Yeah.
Ray Fisher,
Yeah.
they all wanted
Ray
the Snyder
Fisher.
Cut. The photographer, the storyboard artist, the cinematographer, Affleck stunt double.
Yeah. Unprecedented support in a unique direction. Unprecedented.
Yeah, and so honestly, I could see where certain actors would say, "Hey, man, I like the stuff I did with Snyder, especially Momoa." I think
Mhm.
again, going to what Mike said, think about this. At the time, this was supposed to be released. There was no Aquaman, so this was our introduction to certain characters, and so I think that there's a lot more to digest here with Arthur Curry with Momoa's Aquaman. We spend a lot more time in Atlantis and a lot more time in Themyscira. I think I can understand why Momoa would want more, especially I can understand why Fisher would want more, because geez, if you compare his screen
man.
time in the
Yeah.
Snyder Cut to Whedon, it's just like, wow, Whedon, what's your problem with Fisher? But that's
Well, I
that's a different
That's a-
that's a
I
different
want to know
scene.
what that was, because like he was totally mistreated in the film, and then
Yeah.
nobody believed him when he came out and was talking about what Joss Whedon is doing.
Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course now people are coming forward,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like God, I have some theories as to why people didn't say. I'll just say I think it was racism. I thought they just ignored the black guy and they ignored his
think so,
opinion. They
too.
just thought he was being an annoying, like loud.
That's,
I don't
it's-
know about that.
It's an
You
easy
wonder.
card to play. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
every interaction with a black person and a white person does not equal racism.
See, I think
Yeah.
that they were relying more on the strength of the big three: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And what they don't understand is it's like, especially with, I'm surprised with Jeff Johns involved in the Whedon version, is like, what you don't understand is a team movie gives other characters a chance to shine, like we saw in Age of Ultron, the introduction, of you get more out of Hawkeye's story, you get the introduction of Scarlet Witch and Vision and Quicksilver, all this stuff. A team movie, you get that. And this was a chance for Cyborg, for us to hear Cyborg's story. We know that there's going to be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman movies. So focus on the characters that we're not too familiar with, that are usually ancillary characters, and give them some time to shine. There's a whole, I know that Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, one of the volumes of Justice League comics, I mean, there's with Cyborg is typically a Teen Titans character, but in their iteration, this volume of Justice League, he was kind of a crucial member of Justice League, and it was a huge thing. I think that that's what they were going for originally in this story, and that's what we're seeing here in the Snyder Cut. Now, granted, a lot of Cyborg's character it's Victor Stone. Victor Stone's characterization, his arc, is a little cliche. His father was always at work, and during this one football game, yes, he scored big and everything, but he saw an empty seat next to his mother in the stands, and geez.
Do you know where
You
else
were never
cliches are
there
made
for
to-
me.
to
You turned
thrive?
me into a monster. It's like you kept you alive, dude. You're
No,
alive.
Don, you can't play that card either, because
And it's like,
there
I'm sorry I
are
wasn't at your
more
game,
original
son.
comic books than there are cliched comic books.
I agree with
It's like,
that. I
I'm
agree with
sorry I
that.
wasn't at your game, son. I mean,
Yeah.
come
Well, no,
on.
and
It
then
could've
there's
been-
the other thing where they're driving the car and like he's mad because dad didn't show up and mom's
Car
trying to reassure him,
crash.
and
And in
she
the
does
car.
that stupid movie thing where she looks over to her son for 3 minutes to have a heart to heart instead of focusing on the road during a snowstorm or a rainstorm or whatever's going on. You guys love what happened with Cyborg. I was bored to tears from start to finish with Ray
Okay.
Fisher. Because I mean he does fine, but it's a CW TV show performance and character stretched out to 45 minutes worth of content in the movie.
Look,
I can see that.
I am
He's the
critiquing
weakest
it.
actor of the six, for sure.
I am critiquing it. I just critiqued it. But what I'm saying is, compared to what we got,
Yeah.
this
No,
is better.
but I'm saying this is not better, because what we got for what this character has to offer, the amount that we got in the Whedon cut is just enough.
But even as Cyborg, without the flashback Vic Stone stuff on the football field and all that, and the family drama, I think he's just more interesting of a character as Cyborg in this movie. That meeting that he has with Diana is much more evolved here. It was basically barely touched on in the first movie, or the Whedon movie.
Yeah, it was like, don't Google me, and then leaves. Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. He's a lot more fleshed out, even though he's barely flesh. And the whole mother box thing is just a big question mark for me. It's like,
MacGuffin times
if
three.
you're gonna have MacGuffins times 3, then at least make them more sentient or interesting.
Wait,
or
the
something.
jittering wasn't enough, because that was more jittering than last time.
Yeah, I didn't know what each box represented. Like with the Infinity Stones, you get it. Like we can control reality.
There you
We
go.
can control time.
Yeah.
Here
But
it's just like
Mike, one was blue.
Ah,
was
one's
orange.
blue. That's
Yeah.
water. That's
Yeah,
water.
White.
right. One was wet, one was dry, one was dirty. Got it.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. If you want to talk about doing something with Cyborg, leave Superman out of this movie. Have him be dead for one more
Totally.
film. Make the
Yeah.
entire film the story of Cyborg, because he's made out of the same material as the mother boxes. To your idea of being sentient, I want to see him turn heel. I want to see a conflict where these mother boxes, because they're made of the same stuff, they can influence him and he becomes the super force. Because that's the other thing that was funny and really stupid about his character is his dad, when he brings him back to life. I mean, that could be an entire movie in itself, but it's played with this CW kind of gloss over pathos of, you brought me back to life, Dad. I'm really bitter. And he's like, but son, I've given you all of the powers of the internet. You could launch nuclear codes. You can do literally anything with technology, which includes, according to E-Man's incredulity, which I happen to share, taking a actual tape recorder that gets destroyed and putting it back together with the tape intact so that it plays. I don't know. But
I have
what
no
I'm
clue how he
saying,
did it either. Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
Magic.
like, when he's like, yeah, you could launch nuclear codes and do all this stuff. I'm like, why would you give your son this? I mean, it's like a Pet Cemetery thing. Your son comes back as a monster.
Well, they mentioned
like
Pet
Ezra Miller,
Cemetery
they
in this
did cut
movie.
that joke out at least. They cut out the Pet Cemetery joke in the
They
movie.
did cut it out of this one, yeah.
Thank God.
No, they included in this one. In the Whedon one, they didn't have it.
No, the Whedon one, they
Whedon's
had
got
the
it,
Pet Cemetery. This
Sure,
one they
because
didn't.
when they're digging the
Sure.
grave, that's a longer scene in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
but they don't have Ezra Miller going,
yeah.
oh my God, it's gonna be like a Pet Cemetery thing. Ooh, I'm neurotic.
That's
you know,
a solid.
That's a good Ezra
interpretation.
Miller.
Yeah, that's a really good Ezra Miller.
I have to
Down
say,
on the road.
when Superman does come back, I do like that line that he gives Steppenwolf. I'm not impressed. I mean, that's easily how Ian feels about the whole movie.
That would be, I would put that on a loop for 4 hours and have that be my review at Kicking the Seat.
You know, I love the fact that I'm also baffled at the fact that he's in the black suit throughout this entire movie, pretty much. Except for the nightmare sequence or whatever. And it's like, well, why wasn't that in Whedon's version? It's like, what was the studio afraid of? What was Whedon afraid of? It's like, that's straight
They
from the
wanted people to
comics.
see the classic suit.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
if
why.
it was
Selling
straight
action
from the
figures.
comics, he'd have a black suit and a mullet, but whatever.
Right, and a little hat. Yeah, I'd take that.
You know, honestly, and I thought the beard that he had in Man of Steel during that wandering period, that would have worked really well with the black suit. I think that would have worked even well with the whole Jesus metaphor.
Yeah.
My question, I feel like I missed something. Where did the black suit come from?
In the locker room of the Kryptonian ship, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, why did he pick that? There are other Superman classically styled suits in the ship, right?
Evening formal wear, right?
Oh,
If I remember
father's
correctly, it could be an homage to his father, because I think his father had a black suit like that as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was his. Yeah,
it's Snyder. It's Snyder and his color palette. You know, he's monochromatic every chance he gets, or overwashed, and no surprise that you take one colorful thing and make it less colorful.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Let's talk about the costumes for a second. One of the Don, I don't know if you were here when I made my announcement that I actually did go back and watch Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Hey,
recently,
all right.
And I still don't like it. I still don't think it's that good,
Okay,
but I think it's miles better than Justice League. Either
I accept your confession. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's something that really bugged me this time around. There are a lot of group shots, particularly towards the end, where they're coming together as a team, getting ready to go into battle.
Mug shots.
It just looks really weird, and there's something about the cohesion of the aesthetic of the Avengers, the X-Men universe, where they are all kind of in black leather with some detail, some red flourishes, and a bit of styling. To see Aquaman in his thing, Wonder Woman in her thing, Batman, and then Flash, they all just look like they're at a comic book convention. There's no, it works much better in the comics to Don, to get back to something like a 4-color language like you're talking about. In the comic books, you can kind of accept it because it's this brightly colorful world and everyone's kind of dressed crazy. In a movie, there is sort of a reason, I think, that they don't have, Superman running around in the tights anymore. But there is something about the cohesion where I couldn't take these characters seriously in that end battle, partially because they still haven't fixed the climax. I know we kind of differ on this, but it's just at a giant, empty city runway in the dark. It reminded me of the climax of Wonder Woman, just more CGI things swooping around and stuff blowing up. And,
This
they have
time
my
there's
man.
This
Sky
time there's a
beam.
hex. This time there's a dome. I mean, a hex. I mean, a dome.
Help me out here.
Sky beam.
Steppenwolf's secret base is inside a nuclear reactor with a giant red dome. And they're like, how are we ever going to find him? Says the guy who has power over every satellite image known to man. We don't know where Steppenwolf is. I don't know.
Until Cyborg's dead kills himself to tell us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, another dumb death scene. Anyway.
Yeah.
I will say with the climax, it still felt like in the original, it felt like a funny, weird punchline.
Yeah.
Where once Superman comes back, everybody else's power is basically completely useless.
Agreed.
And they play a million jokes on that. And in this version, it felt more rushed, where I really liked the tone a million times more than it was in the original. At the same time, it just felt like, okay, Steppenwolf's dead, and then Darkseid's here. He crushes his head and he says, I'm the real bad guy. Get ready for movies 2 and 3. And there's so much setup in this film, but at the same time, they're also doing so much. Like Zack Snyder never knows what to focus on.
True.
I think you guys are right. Superman should come back to life in movie 2, but you don't want little kids crying over it. But then again, you killed Superman in movie already, so you already got little kids crying. So whatever. Boo-hoo, get over it. It's not real.
It's not real? No.
But
I mean, there are plenty of Justice League iterations in the comics where Superman doesn't come into the picture until later,
Yeah,
So,
because it's just too much. Like, what if they learned to beat this guy by themselves without him?
that would have been huge.
Yeah.
Been awesome. Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, we got our cheat code, you had like a level 99.999 character when you had like level 10 characters fighting somebody.
Yeah. I mean, at that final battle, I will say that there were moments in the Snyder Cut that were a lot better than the Whedon's moments where it's like, it feels like we go from, oh, let's get this one family out of the way.
Right.
And they, Flash is like pushing this pickup truck.
I did like the fact that they got rid of that scene. That I will admit
in the
that
building carrying things.
And then next thing we know, we're like, my man, wahoo! It's like there's a little bit more. There's more scenes in there
more
to
urgency.
make things work. And I like the fact. I know it's a small thing, but I like the fact that Alfred and Bruce built these like energy absorbing gauntlets in his forearms for Batman's suit. It makes him a little bit more of a formidable player in the final battle. It just, I think, to me, like Batman would, kind of like basically update his suit a little bit more if he's going to be in this final battle. And I think that even just having that was a little bit more appropriate or interesting to me. I mean, I just felt like there's enough scenes that expand each section of the movie that really is at least fulfilling to me. It's like, okay, well, this makes sense now. Even this extended scene, like I mentioned, where they're digging Clark's grave. There's more to that, because then we see this shot in the background of the van, and in Whedon's cut, it was just
show up Star Labs.
It was just Flash and Cyborg digging the grave. In this version, Diana and Aquaman are there in the van, and so they're all doing things together. It just feels like there's more character building and team building in this movie.
So having a shot of two characters in a van in the background not doing anything counts as team building.
Have you seen a Martin McDonagh movie? That's all you need.
I'm just saying it did it for me. It made sense to me that,
just increased participation.
The visual interpretation works and the audience is capturing it, then I think the job is accomplished.
Yeah, because
I'm not capturing it. So we're one for.
Well, not every single person's gonna capture it, but
I got a question about. Go ahead, Ian.
Shoot, I think I just lost my point.
What's your question, Dan?
I was gonna say, in terms of pacing, I think we're all saying it, that there's fat and there's length for sure. if this, yeah, sorry.
David.
That's what she
You
said.
you just said the movie was a steak, so it's a fat steak.
It's a fat
And
steak.
it's a sausage. We've established
Right. Yeah.
Oh, am I the clean one right now?
I know. Yeah, come on. What am I trying to say? Would this have played? I got kind of two-part question. Would this have played as a 6-part miniseries like they initially thought? Like if they slow played this, even though we all know what's coming because we've seen a movie version on a previous way, but if they 6-week slow rolled this, would this play? I don't think it would play the same as
No.
WandaVision and stuff
No,
like
and
that.
I think the problem is because it is too much of the previous film
Yeah.
that I think at least halfway through, people are like, I've already seen this. I'll just wait till
Yeah.
YouTube and fast forward to the parts that are quote unquote new.
Yeah, I mean, to
Yeah.
me, like one of the biggest problems I had with the Whedon's theatrical release was the character of Steppenwolf. I'm just like, he just looks like a bad version of a villain from a '90s video game. It just feels, and it's just he's just spouting the same thing that we've heard from so many villains before. There's no character building. There's not it
got
just
a little wrinkle or two extra to it.
Yeah, but here he's just like an underling. He's trying to, his whole mission is trying to
which
get
I think helps.
some kind of atonement, and get back into good graces with Darkseid. Who cares? I mean, you had in this movie you included no lines, but a cameo from Granny Goodness. You had Desaad, who was terribly executed. It just looks like a globbity gloop. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not even going to say, if you compare Darkseid to Thanos in this movie, I mean,
well, Darkseid's an imposing dude. This guy was like way too. I know he was muscular, but he looked too scrawny. The only thing I thought was
like
the only thing I thought was interesting was just a couple of lines of dialogue about what kind of a mess Steppenwolf was in, that he still owed Darkseid 50,000 worlds of conquest.
Yeah,
and then
I didn't know if I heard that right when he said that. I'm like, dude,
Boy.
how are you gonna make that number up?
Right, but then like a little bit
rough family
bit
poker
later,
game in Apocalypse there.
but a little bit later they're talking about but there are already a trillion worlds under our thumb or something. Like, how I want to go out there and see this stuff. Forget Earth. The story's elsewhere.
Literally else worlds.
So second part to the question is if they, I guess now all of a sudden the second part turns into the third part. Second part, if this went to theaters, it's unmarketable as a 4-hour movie.
Oh, of course.
But if you split it Harry Potter style, like Deathly Hallows 1, Deathly Hallows 2, could it play? Like, give it a plum summer spot, come back in November, rake again.
Here's the thing.
There's nothing to hang on to at the end of part
because we've seen it.
Here's the thing. Harry Potter had all those movies before Deathly Hallows to build up not just a fan base, but to build up interest in these characters. Warner Brothers made a mistake to begin with. They're trying to copy Avengers. They're trying. What did the MCU do? They had an Iron Man, Captain America, Thor movie, all that stuff before Avengers. Time to build. Warner Brothers didn't want that time. They wanted to catch up. They had a Man of Steel and they went right into Batman versus Superman. People were like, "Why is Batman fighting Superman? What's happening?"
Why does he die in
really
18 months on the job? Yeah.
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Like, if we remember, people in the beginning didn't care who Iron Man or Thor or like, I mean, people cared, but
a lot of people
weren't
didn't know.
popular like they are now.
Right.
Like Disney went,
and it took one movie for everybody to be
popular.
like all over Iron Man's jock. Deservedly so. I mean, Don, to your point, I think if we're living in this reality, there's no way this movie would survive a two-parter at a theater. If, to what David was saying, if they had waited and just had Justice League be this mystery from 2017 and they just came out with the Snyder Cut in theaters and let's just pretend there was never a COVID, then it might have a shot. But again, it's the same problem with your miniseries question, the 6-parter. People have already seen this movie. They're just watching a much longer, not that much value add version of the story. So if they go see this, you're like, I already know how this is going to end, but it's going to be, there's so much more scene. But I know how this is going to end. They're not going to come back and pay another $15. They're going to wait for
well, that's my next question. Third part. I mean, I don't want to say giving it away for free because, you still have to pay to subscribe to HBO Max and they could see a spike of subscriptions, of course. But are they missing the boat not putting this at PVOD at $15, $20, $30?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think they're missing the boat for sure. Because there's
Like,
enough
like
of these.
doing what Disney Plus does.
Yeah, like because I think there's enough, especially because of the huge groundswell of fan support. You can't tell me there's a whole bunch of comic book salesmen from The Simpsons who aren't dropping $25 to see this Thursday if they could.
Well, the problem is Disney Plus is getting a lot of shit for that
They are.
premium model,
Mhm.
and also HBO Max is much newer. Disney
True.
Plus has had like a year and a half lead
Yeah.
on them, so
Mhm.
I think it's a ballsy proposition to say, even though this is this is kind of their selling point, like, hey, we're
This is
gonna
their
have
Hamilton.
we're gonna have
Yeah.
the movie you've been clamoring for, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
On
I
you
wish
know-
it was a musical.
oh, totally. But that's sort of the point. Is like it's a
Can you read my mind? Like let's have Lois start singing. Yeah, here we go.
No.
I think you mentioned $15.
Oh,
Maybe
it's
if they
Yeah.
put it on HBO Max and said you pay $15 extra to watch this, yeah. But I know this has a lot of fan interest. Some of the early reactions
Oh,
are very
yeah.
positive. A lot of positive reviews. I
Mhm.
have this feeling that this is going to come and it's going to go, and people are going to be like, it's still not that great. Like a month from now, people will be thinking about
I'm curious.
Justice League and they'll be like, Snyder version, Whedon version. I'm never
Yeah.
going to watch either one again.
Maybe,
I'm curious how it's going to
Yeah.
roll Thursday. 'cause-
maybe I think it's going to be high traffic though.
Yeah.
High
At
traffic.
least
It'll be the weekend. It'll be the equivalent of
Yeah.
a strong opening weekend,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be buried under
Well-
the next week's wave of content.
how many
And,
people
and
have
that next
bought?
week is Godzilla and Kong,
Yeah. How
Mm.
many
You
people
know?
have paid into HBO Max just for the Snyder Cut?
or just for this month, just for Kong to get
Yeah.
Kong too. You know,
Yeah, can't
there-
they get a
is
free
there-
month and then
Is there a
just
trial
cancel?
month? Is there a trial month?
I think they waived trial months because they kind of knew this was coming, right?
Right. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Like if you're in, you're paying $12 and you're
Yeah.
going. You know,
But
wait,
curiously,
their price point's not 12. How much is HBO Max? 8, 9?
I think it's $10 a month.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And for two
I-
movies, I mean, that's a deal because it's a $5 ticket.
Yeah.
that you can
That's
watch
why
for a
I'm-
month or however long you have it, and then
That's
you can
why
forget about
I'm.
it.
That's why I'm wondering the Disney model. Could they have raked a little something? Like I know recouping 70 million is child's play compared to the budgets of movies now, but you can't tell me you couldn't Trolls 2 your way to 90 because even Trolls 2 made 90 in a month. This movie at $20. This movie
Wow.
could have made 90 in a month at $20.
You know,
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like
sure.
people would just not respond positively to it if they did
Yeah.
that, and they'd be like, "I'm not gonna see this at all."
I mean, the
After Snyder
difference.
Cut.
The also the
It's like
difference.
you're bringing
between-
in more subscribers, hence you're
Yeah.
bringing in more money.
Yeah, the
Well,
repeat
and I
ones,
think,
too.
but the-
asking for people like, "Hey, you could see the Snyder Cut for free." You know, people are
Mhm.
like, "Whoa,
Oh no,
really?"
it's a selling point. Those
Yeah,
and
get
this-
if
and
you give
massive
it and you're like,
spike this
"Oh,
month.
it's $15," people will be like, "F you, I'm not paying that."
And this is
Yeah.
the thing is where at the beginning, the COVID era has been going on for a year now, but we're still in an era where we're figuring out how we're going to make the transition from theaters to streaming, or if there's going to be some kind of a hybrid once things kind of go back to normal. But we saw this with Disney. With Disney Plus, you'd get people subscribing for The Mandalorian and then dropping their subscriptions. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be curious
Yeah.
to see how many people actually stick around for HBO Max because
I
I
think
don't know what else
there-
they've got on there that's going to get
Well,
people to stick.
well, their
Well,
promise
there's
is
plenty.
their promise that's the selling point for them is every theatrical release is the same day and date HBO Max. So
Yep.
I mean, I know In the Heights, for example, isn't the biggest seller in the world, but someday Dune will be. Like
Mm.
they have enough. It's still Warner.
Yeah,
Brothers.
there's
They still-
enough.
they put out 2 movies a month. You're gonna get something.
Even if you're just a DC Comics fan, there's enough on HBO Max just for DC Comics. I mean,
I see. I'm waiting for them to
crazy.
fold the DCU shingle into HBO Max and just shave off that other service.
Yeah, I mean, I
They-
suppose
well, they
if you-
have.
well,
they
but I
have.
mean,
DC's closed.
I'm pretty sure it's closed because almost everything's transferred over. They have Doom Patrol, they have Titans, they have they have
They needed
Batwoman.
to.
They
'Cause
have
that
the
was
old
like
they have the old Aquaman animated series from like the late
That's awesome.
60s, early 70s.
if they get
They
Plastic
have the
Man, let me know.
they have Batman animated series, they have
Mhm.
Justice League, they have the Harley Quinn, which is 2 seasons of amazing. But
Cool.
so there's enough for DC fans to stick around.
Mhm.
The
but is that
difference
enough? But is that enough to keep HBO
Casual.
afloat to the numbers that they need?
Did
Because
you say they
comics
have
and comic
Batman the
fandom is
animated
still
series now? Because if
Yeah.
they do,
they do.
yeah, I'd stick with that subscription.
No, Ian, I think what's going to keep HBO Max afloat is Warner Brothers still makes a reasonable amount of movies a year. they're not Disney, but they're still like number 2. They make, 2 movies a month all year
Sure.
long. The other thing I think that will keep them viable is you still have HBO. They make a
Yeah.
colossal amount of
Mhm.
television.
Not to
And
mention their documentaries. Yeah.
Gonna
Exactly.
Watch my Oz.
But the television will float the film industry for a while here.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the key word, is for a while. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
imagine 5 years from now,
Yeah.
if by some strange turn of events, movies become a thing again and people are going out, what's
Yeah.
that going to do to the subscription service? Are they going to stick to that day and date thing? Are they going to,
I know.
go
I
for the
feel like
hybrid?
I
We're
feel
in
like
new-
they're
I'm
pinning
saying we're in
themselves
new
in a corner.
territory. We're still trying to figure stuff out.
See, I think they're pinning themselves in a corner, and we've been saying this like on Mike's podcast for a long time, of when that day and date window went from 6 months to 3 months, and then 3 months to 17 days, and now there's not even a day. They're cutting off their nose to spite their face. At that point, HBO Max will just be your cable where the movies land when they're done, and just whatever new content HBO can put under their banner. Like, TV will keep it afloat, and TV has shown it can stay afloat just fine on its own, because they're murdering the volume of content, because everybody can do TV.
Well, everyone can do TV, but this isn't
Mhm.
cable. This is the a la
Yeah.
carte thing that people were clamoring for years. But
Mhm.
now that it's here, we're already seeing the memes. Like, it's $10 for HBO, it's $10 for Netflix and Hulu
Yeah.
and all this stuff. It's becoming
Yeah.
more expensive. So people are going to have to start choosing. And I don't doubt that there are going to be people who will dip in and out of HBO to catch these
Mhm.
releases. But again, how many of them are going to be like, okay, I'm going to subscribe to HBO in May and July and September, but HBO as a business can't necessarily stay afloat in the absence of consistent yearly subscriptions, because they have to show their stakeholders, we have this constant stream of
Yeah.
revenue, which they're
Mhm.
going to have to a certain extent. But
Sure.
then there's also this X factor. It's like, almost like freelancing. You have to get
Yeah.
very particular with the way you budget things.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is too, is like, hopefully some people are asking the questions, can you wait? This movie's coming
Agreed.
out in Blu-ray in
Agreed.
the end of May.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So
Yeah.
it's like, that's
Mhm.
why I didn't subscribe to CBS All Access. I'm very interested in, continuing the Star Trek stories, but I could
Mhm.
buy them on Blu-ray. I don't
Right.
care. It's like, there's nothing
And
about
watch it to your heart's
CBS.
content. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing about CBS All Access that is a draw factor. Sorry.
Well, that's why
Um,
I'm waiting for some mergers and contraction, because kind of like I'm saying with DC that needs to be folded into HBO Max, CBS needs to get folded into Paramount Plus.
Something. Yeah.
know,
Well, I think they are.
Peacock
actually.
needs to
I
get
think they are.
folded into whatever Comcast wants to spend money on NBC next.
Yeah.
And if it's gonna, the islands will still be there that Ian is describing, and they'll all still cost what they cost, but maybe there'll be fewer islands.
Yeah.
And now that Disney bought Comcast's piece of Hulu, and now it's all theirs, they can make Hulu. I hope the smart thing to me would be make Hulu your adult shingle. Make it your Touchstone, your Fox. Put all the stuff that's not fit for Disney Plus on Hulu, already branded, already great television choices there. Just make it your adult wing. And
Yeah.
no one needs to know that it's a Disney company unless you write it on the bottom of the damn screen. And it's fine.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Hulu, I don't know what they're like. They don't really have a voice or a or,
Not
or
anymore.
like a platform.
No,
like
Check out
Netflix,
Boss
they
Level.
have theirs.
it's
Hey,
leftover
Boss-
TV right now.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
disagree
Yeah,
with
like
that.
there's a
to
couple
David's-
Oscar-nominated films, and then that's it.
Mm.
I
To David's
disagree with
point,
that.
there is a movie on there called Boss Level, which you guys should check out if you haven't yet.
It's on the homepage. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
But
it's
Palm
Bossum.
Springs, they hit
Yeah.
on one every
Yeah.
now and then.
Yeah, a lot of
One Night in
Nomadland.
Miami.
neon movies.
One Night in
Yeah.
Miami was Amazon, sir.
It was
That's
Amazon,
true.
yes,
Yes.
right?
That's true.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have to run because I'm about to do
Okay.
another podcast. So I have,
Yeah, baby.
I have another hour and a half
Your
left to
dance
go.
card's full.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you guys take the time to hang out and talk Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know we came down kind of differently on this, but we still had a fun, enjoyable conversation. We're all still friends, which is wonderful to
We're
see.
super friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Two of us can prove it, sir.
damn
Anyway,
right.
your
I gotta
your
get
movies,
my
man.
Batman
I
'85.
still have to fill out the paperwork.
Oh wait, where's
Uh,
Mike?
Mike's the closest thing we'll get to Jason Momoa.
Oh,
belong
there-
here.
oh, that's sweet right there.
Was that a
Yeah.
post-it note saying "fix this"? That's
it's called
He's
a,
Alfred over there getting the
that's
ship
the
ready.
ship
movie
that-
I'm making that takes place
Okay.
between
That's
the
that's
80s
the ship
and
that
90s.
Cyborg has to communicate with.
Nice.
Right.
All right. Well, anyway, I am joined once again. I'm Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. I'm joined by Don Shanahan of Every Movie Has a Lesson and 25 Years Later, and soon a new podcast
Yes,
adventure.
new podcast.
Whoa.
It's
Called?
Cinephile Hissy Fit.
When is that coming out?
We are recording Friday with probably a week time after that, so within 2 weeks. Within
So
two
you're
Alright.
recording after Falcon and the
I'm
Snowman?
I'm recording 10 o'clock at night on Friday after we get done with Mission Report.
You're a
Yeah.
sadist. Well, can't wait to check that out.
Me too.
Mike Crowley of, you'll probably agree, I said it right this time, and David Fowley of Keeping It Real. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening, and go watch this movie, the gray version, when it comes out, because that's going to make it totally better.
Yeah, Justice
Black
League
and white.
Noir. Right, it's like Logan.
Justice League Noirtha. All right. Good night, everybody.